All right, let's just jump right in. It feels like every single day we're hearing about some new mind-blowing thing generative AI can do, right? It's writing software, it's diagnosing diseases, it's solving math problems that are just impossible for most of us. But, right alongside all that excitement, there's this growing feeling of anxiety about what it means for our jobs. So the big question really is, should we be panicking, or is there actually time to prepare? And look, this isn't just some random chatter on the internet. We're hearing these really serious warnings from the very top. I mean, when the head of the International Monetary Fund calls AI a job-crushing tsunami, that's hard to ignore. It really makes you feel like some massive, painful change is right around the corner.
So you gotta ask, right? With all this talk of tsunamis and massive upheavals from world leaders, is this level of panic actually justified? Or are we maybe missing part of the picture here? Let's take a closer look at what's really going on.
Because here's the thing, and this is what's so fascinating. Despite all the scary headlines, there are some really good reasons to believe that we actually have more time to adapt than you might think. This whole transition, well, it might be happening a lot slower than the hype would have you believe.
And this is where that reality check really hits home. Take a look at this number, 3 million. That's the increase in white-collar jobs in the US since ChatGPT launched. Yep, you heard that right. These are the exact jobs we were all told were first on the chopping block. Even in areas like coding, where AI is being used all the time, employment is still going up. So, for all the talk of a tsunami, the job market seems to be, well, kind of shrugging it off, at least for now.
So what gives? Why is there this huge gap between the warnings and what's actually happening to jobs? Well, one of the biggest reasons is something experts have started calling the jagged frontier of AI. It's a great name for it, because it perfectly describes how AI's abilities are just all over the place. It can be an absolute genius one second, and then completely incompetent the next. And that makes it really, really hard for a business to just plug it in and let it run wild.
And just look at some of these examples of the jagged frontier. An AI can solve a math problem that would make a PhD's head spin, but then it can't reliably count how many R's are in the word strawberry. Seriously, it can write amazing code, but then it will just confidently make stuff up, what people are calling hallucinations. This crazy mix of brilliance and total failure means companies have to spend a ton of time and money just figuring out how to use it safely and effectively. And the second big reason for this slow-motion transition, it's a lesson from history that we see over and over again. Powerful new technologies almost never change the world overnight. There is always this big lag time between when something is invented in a lab and when it actually starts changing how we work in our offices and factories.
The perfect example of this is electricity. Think about it. It was harnessed way back in the 1880s. But look at this. 2 decades later, by the 1900s, only 10% of American factories were even using it. It took 40 to 50 years for companies to figure out how to completely redesign their businesses to really get the most out of it. The huge productivity boom didn't show up until the 1930s. AI is almost certainly going to follow that same slow, careful path into our economy.
Okay, but just because the change is slow doesn't mean there are no risks. Let's be real. The disruption is still coming, but it's probably going to be a lot more focused. And this is where it gets personal, right? It's about figuring out which skills are going to be less valuable and which of our uniquely human skills will become more important than ever.
So here's the key. We need to focus on the skills that AI just can't touch, at least not yet. We're talking about things like good judgment, real empathy, that gut feeling you only get from years of experience, and of course, creative problem solving. This is our safe harbor. For anyone whose job relies on these skills, AI might actually be an incredible tool, freeing you up from the boring stuff to focus on what humans do best.
Now, on the flip side, some roles, they do look pretty exposed. We're talking about back-office jobs that follow a really simple script, or entry-level positions where the main job is just crunching data or summarizing reports. These are exactly the kinds of routine tasks that today's AI is getting really, really good at. And this is where we have to focus our preparation efforts.
So if we know this change is coming, slowly but surely, what do we do about it? How do we use this window of time we have? This is where we need to shift from just worrying about the problem to actually looking at solutions. And there is an adaptation playbook for both governments and for companies that we can start using right now.
First up, governments. Their job isn't to stop technology,
It's to help people navigate the changes. That means making sure our labor markets are flexible, so it's easier for people to move into new jobs and industries. But the big one, the really big one, is a total overhaul of our education system. And I don't just mean more coding classes. I mean teaching kids, and all of us really, how to think critically with an AI, how to ask it the right questions, and how to use it to solve problems creatively. Those are the skills that are going to matter most.
And companies? Well, they're right on the front lines. The smart ones aren't just going to look for ways to replace people. They're going to invest in them. They'll retrain their experienced workers, the people who have all that deep, tacit business knowledge, for new roles where they can actually guide the AI. They'll have to redesign entry-level jobs so they're about judgment and analysis, not just grunt work. And they absolutely have to keep hiring young AI natives and maybe rotate them through different parts of the business faster so they get that broad, real-world experience AI just can't learn.
So, when you put all of this together, what's the big picture for us? It means that this moment we're in right now, it shouldn't be defined by panic. It should be defined by preparation. We are in a crucial and probably temporary window of opportunity.
Now, let's be totally clear. Some level of disruption, some job loss, it's unavoidable. That's just the nature of any big technological leap. But the most important takeaway here is that we have time. We have time to cushion the blow, to retrain people, and to redesign how we work. But we cannot waste this time. The clock is definitely ticking.
And that leaves us with one final critical question. The story of electricity shows us that this gap between a new invention and its real impact can last for decades. We are living in that gap right now with AI. We have this precious window of opportunity to prepare ourselves, our companies, and our entire society. The only question is, will we use it?